Yeah.
Let's talk. Obviously, the AJ situation, if that's all right, mate. What a night that was. Obviously, Usyk showed how good he really is, and I think I personally predicted him to win a decision before the fight because he is just elite. But once you watched it back, I'm assuming you did. What was it like for you watching it back?
Well, frustration is a good word because, the one thing I didn't want him to do in that fight was try and outbox Alexander Usyk. And that was exactly what he tried to do. Now, was that down to stubbornness? Was that down to a bit of lack of confidence of what he was supposed to do or the game plan particularly? I think a little bit of both.
Those are the words of Eddie Hearn as he explains the AJ Usyk situation, the disappointment of him being upset by Alexander Usyk. And as you heard Eddie Hearn say, the one thing he hoped he didn't do, he did. And it came down to confidence and stubbornness. And a combination between those things is the reason why he did something that he didn't supposed to do. Anthony Joshua, let me counterpunch. Eddie Hearn and myself, I had a combination between, True Giordi, I think that's his name. I think that's how you pronounce it. And because I had two different scenarios, but I had Usyk beating Joshua. As you guys know, you're not going to beat someone like Usyk if you try to outbox him. You'd have to try another approach that appeals more to your game plan. And since Anthony Joshua was more of a hybrid at this point, I was hoping that he could revert back to that old savage AJ and adopt more of those mentalities in aggression in this fight versus what he actually did. And that's exactly what Eddie Hearn was talking about. Eddie Hearn was saying that, hey, this is something that we hope you don't do, and I was thinking the same thing. And in how many people I told, hey, if Anthony Joshua tries to outbox Alexander Usyk, there were signs, and we'll get to that in a minute. He's going to lose. He's going to lose by decision. And that's exactly what happened. And speaking of the signs, him saying, hey, I could go 25 rounds. I could go 15 rounds, of boxing. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you fighting Andy Ruiz? Because that's something that you could say from fighting Andy Ruiz. Why? In the rematch. Why? Because you supposedly had stamina issues. You couldn't box. You were a stiff robot. You really couldn't fight. Those things were said about Anthony Joshua when he went underground and started training like a mother sucker, right? Those were the things that were said about him. And he wanted to prove everybody wrong by being in that much of shape to do exactly what people said he couldn't do. I get that. But at the end of the day, that is not the way to fight Alexander Usyk. Okay, you have to be savage at certain times. And this is one where the opportunity was there to be savage, but by the 12th round, he was already beaten. Okay, he was complaining about his eye and swelling and stuff. We've seen Anthony Joshua's eye swell before. So, you know what I mean? I just think by that time, he was mentally drained. He was mentally defeated because he didn't know how to break something that he couldn't break in the first 11 rounds. Okay, counterpunch. And I think because he couldn't do that, he was like, well, let me try to coast to a decision because that's what won me the fight in the Andy Ruiz fight. Oh, but that's right. I was able to outbox him with really little resistance. All right. So, it's Eddie Hearn has a way with words, don't he? Sweet tongue, hashtag sweet tongue is something that comes to mind because he said it. And he said something basically anybody else would say, but it would sound offensive. Stubborn ass AJ, being not having confidence, inexperienced or whatever. Well, not having confidence and stubborn, that would come off derogatory. right? It would absolutely come off derogatory. And the way Eddie Hearn said it, you know, he made it, well, hey, a little bit of both, to be honest with you, you know, but that's AJ. But the way he said it sounded a lot more dressed up. But what he was saying is he was stubborn enough to do that. But like Anthony Joshua himself said, okay, nobody is going to make you or force you to decide to fight a certain way. That's going to be a this thing or a this thing, right? This and this has to be together to control these. And that's exactly what Anthony Joshua has to figure out when he goes into the rematch. But anyway, I was just giving you that counterpunch on this particular segment of True Giordi and guest Eddie Hearn saying that he didn't want the worst thing to happen where Anthony Joshua was trying to outbox Alexander Usyk. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.